Hello and welcome to another video. Today I am bringing you a review video. I will apologize. I have my doggie at my feet and she is sleeping so very soundly that I don't feel like waking her up, but she does snore and she snores loud. So I do apologize if you hear that in the background, but I don't want to disturb her peace. So I hope you don't mind the snoring soundtrack of this video. So I'm going to be reviewing Dark Lover by J.R. Ward today. I don't know how I'm going to structure these videos, but me and my best friend Effie, always linked in the description, are buddy reading these. We're doing one every 2 months so that we can still buddy read, but have that time to be able to pick the book up because these get bigger as the series goes along, and it's a fairly big series and intricate world. So we want to give ourselves enough time to really delve into our buddy reads. So if you don't know, this is a long-standing vampire series. It is the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. This has been on my radar for a very long time, and I'm just now picking it up. But I can't think of a better way to pick this up now than to buddy read it with my best friend. So if you don't know what this is about, I'm going to read you the snippet at the back so that you can get an adequate representation of what this first novel is about. I don't know how I'm going to structure these videos, so I think because I will be reviewing these as I read them, but it's kind of hard because every video I'll be spoiling the books that become before it. So, like, when I read the sequel, I will probably be spoiling this book. So, if you're interested and want to, read along at home, if you've been wanting to pick this series up, this could be your chance. I plan on having a review for these every 2 months, and we can just, vibe out together. So if you don't know what this book's about, I'm going to read the back of the synopsis of this book. I was going to try and do this in my own words, but I'm scared in case I give too much away. So we're going to read it. So it says, in the shadows of the night in Caldwell, New York, there's a deadly turf war going on between vampires and their slayers. There also exists a secret band of brothers like no other, 6 vampire warriors, defenders of their race. Among them, none relishes killing their enemies more than Wrath, the leader of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. The only purebred vampire left on the planet, Wrath has a score to settle with the slayers who murdered his parents centuries ago. But when one of his most trusted fighters is killed, orphaning a half-breed daughter unaware of her heritage or her fate, Wrath must usher the beautiful female into the world of the undead. Beth Randall is helpless against the dangerously sexy man who comes to her at night with shadows in his eyes. His tales of brotherhood and blood frighten her, but his touch ignites a dawning power that threatens to consume them both. I mean, this was on my radar for so long. I'm so happy that I read it, and I am going to talk about it now instead of just sitting here rambling. So I'm going to pop the picture of this on screen so I don't have to sit here and hold it. Essentially, we follow Wrath, who is the oldest vampire in existence. And what I really loved about Wrath's character, I don't believe this is a spoiler, um, he's blind. And I'm not going to say that's a spoiler because it's not something that really has any play or part in the book. I just really enjoyed that representation of a vampire with a disability I have never seen before. So I really enjoyed Wrath as a character because he kind of, took this vampire lore that we're also used to and spun it on its head almost immediately. And I really enjoyed having him, as this big, bad, purebred warrior who didn't let his, disability affect him, and I think that made me love him more, to be honest. So Darius is part of the Brotherhood, and he asks Wrath to help Beth through her change. What I really enjoyed about this story and this lore is it's not something that I've ever read before. So I don't know how to talk about this without going into spoilers, because I don't know if people would take the lore as a spoiler. I'm not sure. So what I will do is I will have probably a part where I just talk about vibes, and then I may have a spoiler section at the end to delve more into my feelings. So maybe this will be spoiler and spoiler free, Maybe I'll do that for all of the books, but it's kind of hard because again, I'll be spoiling like the previous book in the series. Anyways, I can't seem to get my mind to focus today. I feel flustered and chaotic, so I do apologize if this video is flustered and chaotic, but we go on. So I also we'll speak about the characters in general terms. So I really liked Wrath, and I really liked the portrayal of him as a vampire. I really liked Beth as well, which sometimes I think in vampire books when you have, you know, a human, um it can kind of be hard with the human vampire aspect. I always tend to like one part of a relationship better than the other. I always tend to like have a side, if that makes any sense. But with Wrath and Beth, with their dynamic, I didn't have a side. Like, I loved them both equally. I loved them both as characters. I loved the building of this relationship. It's like he has to help her because she doesn't know that she's a vampire until, you know, Wrath enters her life, which is so interesting. And it's that catalyst that makes this book move forward. There is also a few characters. So I think it's so funny that the brothers have these really strange names. Like there's Zadis, there's Torment, there's Fury, there's Wrath. Like they all have these really fun names, and it's easy to make like fun of them, but it works. Like I can't imagine one of the Brotherhood being called something like Sam or Dean. Of course, I picked supernatural names. Why did that come to my head immediately? You know, like I couldn't imagine them being called, you know, Chuck or, you know, Bradley. Like it just makes sense for the stupid names. And them as a character as a whole, like I like the dynamic of the Brotherhood and the way that it's built up in this book. You're introduced to them, and you're also introduced to their enemies, which the Slayers in this are definitely a unique take on Slayers, in my opinion. Maybe I just haven't read a lot of vampire books in my past, but I feel like I have, and I feel like I haven't really read something quite like this, which I was shocked and awed by. So, the Brotherhood as a whole, I have, you know, I have some of my favorites that I think may continue to be favorites as the books go on, but I'm not going to say just yet because I've only read book one, and I want to read book two before I really form an opinion on the Brotherhood because even though we get introduced to them in this book, I want more depth in the second book before I talk more about the brothers. This is like this book is more, you know, this book's more focused on Beth and Wrath and Beth's transition and also the people in Beth's life. She has this police officer Butch who shouldn't be a police officer in my opinion. But he kind of loses his job and then he meets the Brotherhood and forms like this unlikely friendship with like vampire and human. And I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed Butch becoming part of, you know, it was like Beth was taking something from her life and putting it into this crazy world of vampires and warriors. And I really enjoyed that. So I think Butch as a character is one that could go either way. It depends on what J.R. Ward does with him. But so far, I wasn't sure of him at the start as a police officer, but as part of, you know, the Black Dagger Brotherhood, I am pretty on board with him being friends with these guys, and I think he fits in better. The Slayers in this are very interesting because they are soulless and they make like a deal. So I'm struggling really hard because I don't want to spoil anything. So what I will say is that they are soulless, and I actually think the Slayer in this, like, I felt like he was the villain and not the vampires, and it made for a very interesting read because I have never read a vampire book where the slayers of the vampires are worse than the vampires themselves. So that sets up a very interesting dynamic. I'm just going to go straight into spoilers now because I can't really talk about much without spoilers. So maybe I just need to make these spoiler, you know, all of this tagged as spoilers because I'm too scared that I spoil you without meaning to, but also I'm finding it hard to talk about this book without having spoilers. So maybe the best way forward is to just say that these are going to be spoiler videos. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this specific book in the series, avoid the video. But if you want to be part and chat about this, then you can read the book before my next video comes out, and potentially you can, join along with me and Effie on our journey. I do believe Effie will be taking out content surrounding the Dark Lover series, so you should follow them and also look for their content. So I'm just going to go into spoilers because it's a lot easier. So the vampire lore in this is so interesting because the vampires don't feed off of people like mortals, they feed off of other vampires. So they don't really need to hurt anyone to be sustained because they have their Lelans, which is their partners that they drink from. And I just find that so interesting because I don't think I've ever read a book where vampires feed from other vampires and that mortal blood doesn't do anything for them. So that was like a unique take on the lore. I also think that the Scribe Virgin, which is the mother of all vampires, is an interesting entity, and I am looking forward to getting to more information about how that works. And I know that they kind of like pray to her and they need to ask her permission. So she's not like a god or an entity or an all-powerful being that doesn't interfere. She very much has a hand in what the vampires do and the way they live because they need to ask permission for things. For example, Wrath gets married to Beth in this, and he has to go to the Scribe Virgin and ask if it's okay. And I just really want to find out more about the lore of the Scribe Virgin. And then I can't remember the name, but the Slayers have a similar thing because the Scribe Virgin created vampires, and then there was another entity that created Slayers to wipe out the vampires. I can't remember what it is called for the life of me, but essentially, when you become a Slayer, you become soulless, impotent. You bleach of all color, and the Slayer in this is called Mr. X. Now, Mr. X is a serial killer. Like he is a full blown serial killer. I don't. He is willing to murder sex workers and use them as bait to lure in vampires to then kill vampires. But I'm like, why would you do that considering like you're the villain in this situation? Because the vampires feed on other vampires. So they're not taking life, but you're taking human life, so you're the villain. Like it it didn't really make sense to me because I was like, the Slayers are actually the bad guys in this book. Interesting, interesting. Because normally, in vampire lore, it's the big bad vampire that's eating all the humans that's the bad guys. But in this, the Slayers are actually not that great. I'm very intrigued to see more on the Slayers and why they have this huge feud with the vampires if the vampires aren't hurting society. Because in all the things that I've watched or read, the reason Slayers go after vampires is for the sake of humans. But in this, it just doesn't work because the humans are not really at risk. I think it's very interesting at the lore and the way that J.R. Ward has created this world because you have this race of warriors that are made to defend the vampires, and then you have this race of slayers that are kind of worse than the vampires but want to hunt them to extinction. And Wrath is a warrior, but he is technically born king of vampires. He just doesn't take up that mantle. But when he goes to the Scribe Virgin and asks if he can marry Beth, her one like stipulation is that he will lead his people. So in the second book, we're probably gonna get some of Wrath being like king of all vampires, and I think it'll be interesting to see the difference because like the Brotherhood are a camp in and of themselves. So like there's like the Brotherhood, the vampires, and then the Slayers, and it's interesting to see how, and then the humans, and it's interesting to see how all this works. And the world building in this was so well done because I was so interested. I just wanted to know more. I wanted to know how this like all came about, how the slayers are against the vampires, how the vampires don't feed from humans. Like I was invested in this world, and I can't wait to see more of it. I can't wait to see, because there's 20 plus books in this series, so this world is going to be so expansive, and I'm so excited for it. I also think that it will be interesting to see Wrath and Beth's relationship grow, because Beth is the first person to come into Wrath's life to make him feel certain things, and like it's so adorably sweet. Their romance is so cute because Beth makes Wrath feel loved and appreciated, and Wrath makes Beth feel protected and strong, and it just works. They're just so sweet. Also, I love the term of endearment, Leland. I love that. That's so cute. And I love when Ross says Leland to Beth. It gives me all the little belly flutters. It's so cute. I gave this a 4 stars, so I did really enjoy this. I think the thing that was stopping me from giving this a full 5 star was there was just something missing. I don't know how to place it. I don't know how to get my feelings across. Maybe this would actually be a 4.5 star, because it it didn't feel like a be all end all 5 star read for me, but 4 stars seems like not enough. So I think this would toggle between a 4.5 and a 4.75, just because there was a spark missing that I cannot for the life of me pinpoint. Like, I don't know if I wanted more from Wrath and Beth's relationship, or if I wanted more from the world. I don't know. There was just that little tiny thing that I can't put my finger on that was just missing to be like instant 5 star. Mm, I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm gonna settle on a 4.5 for the time being. I don't think I will change it. I only change my ratings if it feels right or justified in my mind. I think you can do whatever the fuck you want with your ratings, because it's your reading, it's your life, and you can do what you want. So I do say that if I change my ratings, I will tell you. But when I finished this, I originally gave it a 4 stars. But as I talk it through, as I've wrote in my review, as I go through my buddy read, I realize that it's better than a 4 star. It's still not 5 star status, but I do think the sequel and the rest of the books in this series could have the potential to be a 5 star. I really want to see Torment and Wellesley's relationship blossom, because Wellesley's pregnant, and I am very interested in how vampires procreate in this world, because it's not something that I've seen a lot of, and we're not counting Twilight. Okay, we're not counting Twilight. So it's not something that I've seen a lot of. So it's very interesting to see them be able to procreate, and how, these bloodlines go on, and how vampires are born and not made. I really enjoy that. I also like that this world isn't just vampires killing humans and then slayers killing vampires. It's a bit more nuanced than that. It's a bit more intricate, because vampires don't necessarily need to kill humans. So it's so interesting. It's so interesting. I am here for this. I am here for continuing this series. I'm so glad that I finally picked this up. I did tab everything that I thought was important or vibes or great, and I have added them into my buddy read. So I really enjoyed this. I think it was great. I can't wait to continue on with the sequel. So yeah, I think I think today is a day where my words and my chaotic energy aren't quite translating well to filming, unfortunately. So I do apologize if this video is chaotic. And I think in the future, when I sit down to review these books for you, I will potentially write like a shorthand script so that I can hit certain points. Because as we go along with these reviews, they're I've decided that they're all going to be tagged as spoiler videos, because I don't want to unintentionally tag anyone, which I just worked out while filming this, because I did not plan for this video, which was really silly because of my energy today. But I think in the future I will plan and script for these videos so that I can kind of reiterate what happened in the first book and how it affects the next book, and really tie in all of my thoughts with the world and everything together. So if you do want to stick around and follow along on my journey with the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, then I welcome you. Hi, hello. I will be taking one video out every 2 months for each book in the series. So if you want to read along, you have like 2 months. So we would do. I think I have it written down. Um, so it would be January, February. We would read Dark Lover, and then in March, I've brought you the first review, but I would like to do it a bit more on the ball. So my next one should be April, and then after that it won't be till June. So if you want to read along and follow along on this journey with me, then you have until April to read the second book, and then you have till June to read the third book so that you can enjoy these spoiler videos. I also just want to have a place to document my reading of this series and to see how I get along with it and to see, if there's certain books I like more than others. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you stick around. If you'd like, subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified for my next video. I hope you have a great day, a great week, a great weekend, whenever the hell you're watching this. Remember to stay safe, happy, and healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.
Pick it up from the top, hit restart.